Okay, hello everyone. Now we've got a really important video here because this covers what actually causes those stored emotions and those stored events from the past to then lead the brain to make inaccurate predictions and to become system one thinking based and to become more automatic and responsive and reactive. So, this video is on a topic called emotional memory images and subconscious accumulation. So, it's a bit of a mouthful here, but we're going to talk through it because actually it's a lot simpler than it sounds. Now, I'm sure you'll already know that we can divide the mind into two primary parts. We've got your conscious mind, and the role of the conscious mind is really to think, to choose, to decide. It's all about making choices. And then we have your subconscious mind, sometimes interchangeably called unconscious, but we will stick to subconscious mind here. This is outside of your awareness. This is automatic. It contains all sort of your default skills, like learning how to drive a car and walking and all things like that. So it's automatic. It houses all your skills, and it's the place where all emotional charges become stored. So, how is it that this works? Now, when you are involved in an incident or an event or even a set of circumstances that has an intense emotional charge, whatever that emotion is, it could be anxiety, stress, anger, whatever the intense emotion is, what your mind does is it takes a snapshot of the event, almost like a Polaroid camera going, and it takes a snapshot of exactly where you are, what you're doing, who you're with, what's happening, the smells that are around, the things that you can feel, the taste, if there is one, the things that you can see. It takes a snapshot of all of this stuff. And this is what's called the emotional memory image. So that snapshot, which is a mental representation of an event, is called an emotional memory image. And this is important because, as well as all of the visual, sound, and sort of kinesthetic feelings that you have, you also store the chemistry that came with it. So, for example, if you were in an event where you were feeling really threatened and worried, then your mind stores where you are and what's happening and who's doing it. And it also stores that fear response that you have at that moment in time. And then what happens is this emotional memory image then moves over and gets stored subconsciously. So as we go on about our lives, often we think, oh, it just disappears, we move on. But what's really happening is that content is getting stored subconsciously and it gets put on what's called a subconscious danger list. And the danger list means that any time you go near something or any time you're in a certain environment, if your mind can link what you're going through now to anything on this danger list, it will trigger the stress response, the alarm bells to get you to do something different, to get out of it. So it's a quite a beautiful mechanism that is at play, and it's also feedback to let you know that perceptions that you have are skewed or unbiased, are polarized. But we'll deal with that a little bit later. So we have this emotional experience. Your mind takes a mental snapshot and it stores it subconsciously and it stores it on a danger list going forwards. Now, what happens is as we go through life, many of us will have a few small ones, then we might have a big one, we might have a big trauma or something like that. We might have the death of a loved one, so there might be some grief in there as well. So, what happens is as we go through time, we start to accumulate all of these emotional memory images. And this accumulation causes a problem because there's something in the nervous system called or known as neuroception. And neuroception was coined by Dr. Porges. And essentially, neuroception is the process whereby your mind, or if we speak from the brain's perspective, the brain stem and the visual cortex, is continually scanning your environment for anything on the danger list. So if you've got lots of accumulation here of past events and stuff that has happened that you're resentful for or that you're judging, your brain then has to dedicate quite a lot of its resources to manage all of this subconscious accumulation, which leaves you less energy, less awareness, less resources to engage systems 2 thinking. So the more you have accumulated, the more likely you will be to use systems 1 thinking, because that's quicker, easier, faster, and it uses less resources. So as your brain has dedicated all of these resources to scanning for the danger, the only bandwidth you have left is to make quick, automatic decisions, which, as we know, is problematic. And when it comes to anger, means you can say some pretty vicious things and do some quite regretful things in a very short space of time, because in that moment you've lost control. So it's really key to be able to identify these emotional memory images and then to start to actually clear them. Because when we clear them, we then start to clear space in the subconscious mind, which then gives us more resources, which then means we can engage our systems 2 thinking, and we become more present rather than reacting to all of that old stuff. Now, clearing these emotional memory images individually by yourself can be done. It is much, much trickier than when you're working with someone. But as we go through, I'm going to give you a couple of tools that you can use and a couple of exercises that you can do to help clear this for yourself. So this is emotional memory images and subconscious accumulation, and that's why it's so important, because when we get all of this stuff accumulated, we become triggered much more easily, and then as we see from the anger and aggression cycle, that's when it all starts to come loose. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you in the next video.